So, hello, all of you. So, welcome to Ascension Summit session number 2. So, we already went quite deep in information and quite high in vibration. So, I would like to continue talking about the Ascended Masters. So, it is said through history that the ones that have reached that frequency level, sometimes called the golden ones, that they have, because they are beyond the matrix, they are beyond the 3 and the 4 dimensional field, that they can actually help co-create a plan for the world. So you almost have to imagine there's a vision for humanity. There's a vision for the planet. And we call that vision, like we have a vision, right? A vision for our life, right? That there is a vision, like a higher plan, a divine plan, as we call it, for humanity. And what is the divine plan for humanity? Well, the divine plan is that everybody reaches the 5th dimensional field. Yeah, that's ultimately, we are spiritual beings in a human form. But what if we could be human beings living in a spiritual form? Yeah. So the opposite. So because we know now we're spirit living in a physical body, but what if we are the opposite? Yeah. What if we are human beings, that live in spirit completely? So everything that is around us is not 3-dimensional, but is 5th-dimensional field. So this is actually what the quantum physics are talking about. Quantum physics are saying, everything is possible all the time, and whatever is not here could be in other dimensions. So it's a multidimensional field. From a 5th-dimensional experience, everything is in a multidimensional field. Yeah, it's not 3-dimensional. You're not stuck in a box. That's why I was talking about the Aladdin factor. I like that word, the Aladdin factor. So the Aladdin factor from the movie I was seeing yesterday, that says, oh, I want to be there, I want to be there, I want to become a flower, I want to become a cloud. So it's like you can be multidimensional fields all at the same time. It is a little bit already what the younger generation is focusing on, but I would say not always in a good way. So when they are in their field of games, when they are focusing on their games, unfortunately they're focusing on a lot of violent games, but there are also games that they are creating different worlds, and literally that you can put on a I would say almost like a frame that you can put on, and even if you're in the physical form somewhere else, you can be in a different experience. So I was recently in Vienna, and they have this place where you put this glasses on, right? And it actually brings you back into its 4D experience, right? Almost 5D, but it's not 5D because you're not physically there, but it's like you have that imagination that you are in the history of Vienna. And that, for example, you look to the left, look to up or down, to the right or behind you, you're not in you don't see the 3-dimensional field that you are in. And I'm sure, I know that exists on certain Disneyland or Disney parks, they have that material also. So literally I was like, floating over, a crowd dancing the Venice walls, right? And I could go anywhere, right, with your frame, your glasses on. So that is really an I would say an experience that is similar than what would be in a 50 dimension, that you don't have to travel in a physical form anymore. You would be there in spirit. And we're actually already saying that somehow, when people saying, well, I'm in a difficult time, we would say, I'm in spirit with you. We say that already. Well, actually, let's say that you would be there at that time in a fraction of lightning speed. You would be there with that person, or you would be something else. So the quantum physics field said they're all multidimensional fields. And the latest article that I just read this week is that they are now saying they're close to even prove that other dimensions, or there's a physical reality to it, that we could actually jump into that physical reality. I don't know if you ever watched TV series like Stargate, right? Or even Star Trek, where beam me up, Scotty, right? So you beamed up and you're in a different planet. So your physical body totally disintegrates, right? And it reintegrates itself in another dimension. Yeah. So this information or these visuals are very close to what fifth dimensional field would be. Yeah. So it's really interesting, the movies or the televisions, they are kind of playing with that field. But you always have to understand that we cannot play with this, or we cannot imagine it if it doesn't exist already. Yeah. So these information, it already is a reality, but they pick it up. Or when we are in Star Wars, for example, where literally we go in hyperspeed and we go very fast from one place to another, and there's this sonic boom, right? So there's a fastness that is happening. Where do they get this information from, right? So because it's already available, yeah. Indeed, somebody's just sharing the stories of autobiography of a yogi with saints here and there at the same time, where they are bilocating themselves, like they're here and they're somewhere else, right? So that is part of that multidimensional field. So this information is always been told in ancient traditions, yeah. And even in the current way of explaining things, it is there. I mean, literally, they just have this week revealed a new train between two cities in Japan that can go 600 miles per hour. 600 miles per hour. And it's a magnetic train. Yeah. So, that is an amazing thing. They just revealed yesterday a company is working on a 5 Mach. So 5 Mach means 5 times the speed of light. Flight between New York and London. It will take 90 minutes. They already have the technology. Yeah. They're just gathering the money to make it happen. Right. So I believe there's much more information out there already that, we are not aware of yet, but that information is there because it's already present. Yeah. It already is in spirit there. So, and as closer we're getting to the fifth dimensional field and more people are living in the fifth dimensional field, more will be revealed how to get there in more physical form. Yeah. So I do believe they are now talking about going, landing again on Moon, on Mars. I do believe that the more we are going to the fifth dimensional field, the more revelations will come, the more information will be downloaded, how to go with the speed of light in such a way, because if they can go faster on the Earth, they will go faster beyond the Earth. Yeah. So it's quite interesting. So now, as I said, the Ascended Masters, they said that because they are beyond the matrix, they can see the unfolding of the plan, of the unfolding and the possibilities. It's like if you would be a parent, right? And you see your child, and your child suddenly starts dancing a little bit, and pinging on the piano, you're like, oh, this child could become a ballerina one day and be a great pianist, right? It's like you're seeing the unfolding, the possibilities. So that is why the Ascended Masters are in that way kind of considered like the parental overview of humanity, right? So they see the possibilities, but they see also the things that are not going well, and they are going to help instruct. It's like with parents, they were like, oh, that child is quite, is a little bit lazy or not orderly. Let me work on that. Yeah. So you give your child inspiration. Yeah. Oh, this could be a great suggestion. It is said that the Ascended Masters are also doing this because they can see from all different perspectives. They can also direct and suggest humanity. Therefore, it is said that in ancient traditions, a god or a goddess would come down and teach humanity, or teach a human being some information. It's, for example, said that, for example, in the Greek tradition, that Hermes received the information how to make fire from the gods, from Zeus. Yeah. So it is said that Osiris came down to the priest and explained them how to create mathematics. So you will see these stories of somebody comes down from heaven, from the other field, yeah, and they would give some information. Now, I believe that information can come physically, like when a master came to me and explained to me, like, this is what you should learn, right? And directing me, like he suggested to me to become a lawyer. Now, I was not planning to become a lawyer, right? I wanted to do something completely different. I wanted to be a musical performer, right? I was really good in dancing, and theater, so I wanted to go this direction. And he said, it's good to become a lawyer, right? So I was like, and then one day I went to the university to register, and I was like, I'm going to become a diplomat. So I'm going to political and social studies, political and social. And so on my way there, I met 3 young men, good-looking young men. And each time that good-looking young man said, I decided last year also I wanted political and social, but ultimately I became a lawyer because the first 2 years are similar and you can still change. So, as somebody at almost 19 at that time, like thinking, oh, 3 cool dudes doing law school, right? I will change. So at the last minute, I changed, right? So I come home and I said to my parents, I subscribed for being a lawyer. I will go law school. And they're like, where's that coming from? You said, never in my life. These were my words the day before. Never in my life I become a lawyer. I said, well, I met these 3 young guys, and 3 different young guys, because I had to take 3 trains. Each time there was a train, there was a guy that was having this conversation with me. So I believe in the law of attraction. So I already knew, like, there were coincidences. So later on, I said to my teacher, okay, I decided to be a lawyer. I said, well, he said, it took me 3 times to convince you. I'm like, what? I said, these guys don't exist in the law school? He said, no. So it was him changing 3 times. And each time he had beautiful blue eyes. He has beautiful blue eyes. So I was like, I should have known, right? So he kind of convinced me, because law school was the best direction for me. Anyhow, what I'm talking about is that they can give you suggestions. I still had the power and the free will to say no. Yeah, you always have to understand, ascended masters can only suggest, they can only direct, but they can never say something you have to do. You always have the free will. I still had the free will to say, you know what, whatever these three guys say, I'm going to do what I want. Yeah. So, and there has been times that I was directed to do something, and then I said, look, I really can't do this. I can't leave my family, right? It is just not possible. He's also the one that directed me, like, go to America. We need to have you there in 3 weeks. And I really felt it was true. And I said yes to that. Because my free will said, yes, I can go. If I would not have gone, yeah, I would have gone and done other things in my life. Nothing is wasted. There's never a waste. But sometimes the ascended masters will know this person could really make a big difference in the world. This information or this invention could give great change in the world. Yeah. So because of that, it is said that the ascended masters have their own, I would say, input in humanity, depending on what has been their background. Because an ascended master has been a human being. An ascended master has never been an angel. An angel cannot be an ascended master. That's a completely different trajectory. Yeah. An ascended master has been a human being that reached an enlightenment state and then went beyond an enlightenment state to become an immortal being and start taking care of humanity. Now, an ascended master is still not completely free. What I mean by that? They are not completely free of illusions. An ascended master still has an illusion, and his illusion or her illusion is, I'm of service to humanity. So they're staying around because they can go beyond an ascension. There are levels beyond ascension. Beyond ascension, you can become a Buddha. Beyond Buddha, you can become a Christ frequency, where you have no physical or no light body anymore. An ascended master has a light body, and since 1987, that light body can be integrated in a physical body, and they can live in a physical body. But what I want to share is that based on what journey they have taken, there are some, I would almost say, talents that they have explored, some wisdom they have received, and they will then use that information to connect in with that part of humanity they can help. Because of that, there are said that there are 7 facets of humanity that ascended masters are helping on. They are called rays, or it's not rays. I call them sometimes departments. Just imagine humanity is a corporation, and there are 7 departments in that corporation, and every department is led by a CEO and with top managers. Yeah, the top managers are the ascended masters. The middle management are human beings that are more evolved and are receiving information from these top managers. If you compare it this way, I think you're kind of getting it. Now, from all the top managers, the ascended masters that are vibrating on that ray of information, it's actually a ray of information, department of information. There's always one that is chosen to lead that department for an amount of time. Now, they don't think in years. Yeah, they think in hundreds of years. They think in thousands of years. Because for them, there is no timeline like we have. We have a timeline of birth till we are passing on. Yeah. So it's the most around 100 years, right? So they don't think in that way. There are CEOs of this department that have been there for more than 2,000 years. And it's their vibration. They're holding that aspect of humanity. And then there are other masters that, ascended masters that are helping them out. There are younger ascended masters. Younger, it's quite interesting. They're still immortal, but they're younger in the sense that they have not reached ascension in the last hundreds of years. Yeah, so they are, or just in the last hundreds of years, or recently. So the first ray, the first focus where ascended masters are helping out on is what we call the red ray. And they're actually connected with the 7 chakras. And the red ray is all about, how would I say, the willpower. And it connects in with everything, how the physical world is constructed. They are the structures of where humanity works in. So think about countries, think about corporations. There are law systems in place there. Everything with construction, like real estate, but also everything about politics and even military protection is part of that first ray. So the one that is leading that and is giving them information how to, through this ray, through this field of information, to help humanity raise their vibration, that ascended master that is leading that is called El Moria. Yeah. So E-L, second word, M-O-R-Y-A, El Moria. Now, the ascended master, when they have a name, it's the name of their last incarnation. Yeah. So El Moria, that was his last incarnation, but his previous incarnations are much more known to us. Most of the time, the last incarnation is not so known, but he will take on that name. It's not so known because they already are masters and transiting into the 5th dimensional field. So they are much more already in an introvert lifetime because they are not so much in the physical world anymore. But one of the lifetimes of El Maria is something that you should have heard of, is King Arthur. Yeah. So King Arthur, I would say in the Western world, was considered definitely a strategist, because the first way thinks about in strategy, was a strategist, and he's the one that brought forward the information about the round table. Yeah, so that I would say almost the first way of doing democracy. Yeah, so the king and the knights were all able to sit down and negotiate the future of a land, the future of the people. So it was actually a first form of democracy in one way. Yeah. He's also said to be been Thomas More, the chancellor of Henry VIII. So he has been there a few more lifetimes. It's said that he has been a leader, a physical leader, a statesman in his past lifetime, so that he could easier lead politicians, people that create structure in a physical form for humanity, and inspire them. Again, that doesn't mean they have to follow him, right? There's a big difference, right? One of the things that is said that was infused, I would say, or inspired by him was the organization called United Nations. Yeah. And we see the United Nations, they have in the assembly, right? They use the round form, and then what we call there's a General Assembly, but there's also the Circle of 12, or depending on how much countries they allow, where like the top countries are sitting together, they're also sitting in a round table, literally, yeah? And everybody has a voice. Now they changed it later on that some countries have veto rights and others not, but still they are sitting in that round table. So it's quite interesting that the person that received that information to set it up this way, and there were 7 that created the manifest or the charter of the United Nations in 1947. And I was honored to meet one of them. One of the first months I was in the USA, I met one of the people that wrote the original charter. And it was in a dinner party. And he comes to me and he's like, okay, who's your ascended master? And I'm like, what? You know, I know who he was. And he said, no, I know you're working with ascended masters. And I said, oh, yes. I said, you know, I work with ascended masters too. I said, you're working with El Maria? I said, yes, I am. And so he was aware of this information. He received this information. He said, not everyone that was writing the Charter for the United Nations was aware of it, but he told me that 3 of them were aware of this information and were guided directly. Yeah. So I want you to know this information, that there are beings, there are people in the world that know this information. So one of the things when I was about 27, I was quite lonely at that time in my spiritual journey. I did not know anyone except my spiritual master that knew information about this. And I'm coming back to what we're doing, but this is part of the story. And I started having these dreams of this woman, a small, tiny woman with gray, curly hair. And I knew she was connecting in with me. And then I met someone, and she's like, we became friends. And she said, I have this friend, and she's telling me, I'm looking for this woman with small, like a tall blonde woman with curly blonde hair. And I said, oh, and is she looking like this? So they put us together. And she was a woman that was very advanced soul. She was an enlightened one. She lived in my city. She just had moved back from Switzerland recently. So when I grew up, she was not there. And for the outside world, she looked like she was a housewife. But she was actually one of the people that was running the Alice Bailey School. And Alice Bailey was someone that after World War I, between World War I and World War II, set up a school, a correspondence school, initiated by an ascended master, Dwight Cool. And she created the Arcane School. And the Arcane School was helping politicians, leaders, business people to learn about the ascended masters. And that originated from New York. And so she was a first ray person, and she was working with Wild Cool, but also with El Maria, to set up an organization so that people who could come from other places in the world and learn from that. But as people at that time were not traveling so much, she set up a correspondent course so that she would give them information and people would then respond and learn from this information. So she said to me, I want you to be part of this. And I said, I have a different direction to go. Well, we were friends. And then she brought me, because now we are literally, 1989. She said, now these people, these politicians, these captains of industry, Christian leaders, leaders of religion, they come together once a year. So they do still correspond, but they come once a year together in Switzerland, in Geneva. So I was invited to go there, even if I was not part of this. Because she said, you're the youngest person I know that has this information. So I was invited, and there I met top politicians, top captains of industry. I even met a president of the United States. A prime minister and a president of different countries in Europe, and Christian leaders, cardinals, rabbis, because the ascendant information is beyond religion. It is beyond politics. It's about creating a humanity that is peaceful and is in harmony. So they come together, and they still come together every year in Geneva, and then they lead meditations. I saw a president of one of the East European countries lead a meditation for 500 people, connecting them with the ascendant frequencies. So you have to understand, this information is out there. It is known. It is knowledgeable. But all these people sit in circles because they follow that first ray. So you have to understand there are people in the world, and this is nothing to do with Freemasons. Yeah, there are Freemasons in that organization, I am sure. But Freemasons is a lodging system that is based on historical information. But this is a group of people, whatever they are coming from, they are connected with that information, and they come and meditate and talk to each other about this information. I was 29 when I was invited in, and I went for 5 years, and then I felt I understand now. It's good, I'm still in touch with some of them, but it's really interesting to know and also understand that that school has a seat, has a meditation room in every United Nations building, in New York, in Tokyo, in Geneva. These people that are part of that, they come and meditate together. And in New York, I've spoken to several times for that group to lead them in meditation. So they know about my existence, but I'm not part of it, because I don't want to be part of an organization. That's I'm not a first rate, so I don't have to be part of that. But you have to understand, there are politicians that know this information. And I know this is not very common knowledge, but I think it's important knowledge. There are some words that they will say, and I recognize it when they speak. I remember when I was 28, it was already after that. So the first meeting, I was 28, and I was working with the European system as a lawyer. And one of the Supreme Court judges, I come to his office, and he had a little prayer, little affirmation out. And I just told him, you know this information? And he said, you know this information? I said, yes. All was said and done, and he totally helped me out with some very difficult projects for the European community that became very important later on. So you have to understand, this is typically first ray. The first ray people are the ones that are creating structures for humanity, so humanity could thrive. The second ray is called the ray of unconditional love. It's the orange ray. If you look at goes up from red to orange. And that is a ray where all the people and the masters that come in there are the masters that are helping with humanity to create more compassion, taking care of people. So think about all charities are connected with that, structures that help people that are in need. Yeah. So, for example, the Red Cross, for example, is part of that organization, is inspired by them. Yeah. So again, it can mean that the leaders have no clue about it, but I always say the person that came up with the idea must have had some direct connection or some direct inspiration from these ascended masters. Yeah? So they take care of humanity. There's an unconditional loving energy that they're working with. Now, there's not so much politicians connected with that, but there's sometimes more people that are into, that are known for their charity. Yeah. For example, Mother Teresa is considered to be a second ray person. So she got inspired to do this work in Calcutta to take care of the people that were dying. Yeah. And she created a worldwide organization. Now, it doesn't mean that the people that do that they don't have their own ego or they still are struggling. They're just getting inspired to create an unconditional loving experience. Yeah. Another person that vibrated on that level is, for example, Lady Diana, Princess Diana. Yeah. When she started working with the anti-mine movement in Africa to make sure there was no mines, that children would lose their limbs from walking on landmines, and the landmine, anti-landmine movement. So that was taking care, unconditional loving. Yeah. So it is said, and also she and Mother Teresa were very connected, and so these are beings and human beings that vibrate on that field. Are they aware of that? I don't know that for a fact. Yeah. But there's an inspiration in their soul to move forward with that. The master of that field has been a long time Lady Mary. Yeah. The Virgin Mary, the Blessed Virgin. Yeah. Now it's said that this has been passed on to Lady Nada, who is known as Mary Magdalene. Yeah. So so it's mostly a very feminine, a female master that takes care of that. It doesn't have to be, but yeah. Kutumi has also held that before Lady the Virgin, and now Lady Nada. So Kutumi was, for example, known as St. Francis. Yeah, St. Francis of Assisi. He took for a few hundred years that information. Where he again was known for his charity level towards the poor people, making sure they had food, they had shelter. So you will see the one that leads that has always been of service to humanity. Yeah. For the ones that are in need and need to be taken care of. So all the organizations right now, like the refugees organizations, are definitely under the, I would say, umbrella, right? Spiritual umbrella of the second ray ascended masters. Yeah. Because these are people that are in need. Yeah. Then the third ray, what we would call the yellow ray, yeah, stands for intelligence, creative intelligence. And that's a ray where masters of art, masters of design, masters of beauty are coming in. It's a very strong ray for the moment. So you will see the rays always are at work. The departments are always are at work, but some departments will come in a little bit stronger than others, depending on what humanity is about. And the third ray, there's a lot of creative intelligence right now. I think the whole creative energy of social media for the moment, with videos and beautiful quotes and people doing fashion and creating beautiful makeup, and that is all the third ray of creative intelligence. So it's like these masters will stimulate people to come up with new ideas, to express the best in people, yeah, through art, through beauty, through music even, yeah. So some of the famous masters that were, I would say, directed by that, or for example, like Mozart and Beethoven and like Strauss, these are third ray masters, but they can also be like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo. You will see when somebody leaves a creative, intelligent work to humanity that passes the generation, that is passed on for hundreds of years, they already are considered masters in their field. And so they had, to a certain level, a fourth-dimensional experience already. Yeah, they were fourth-dimensional already because they already were thinking outside of the box. They were receiving or downloading art, beauty, colors, music that was not staying in the box of their generation. Yeah, so their music, their art goes beyond the box, beyond the timeline of their generation. That means they already were fourth-dimensional masters in their field. Yeah, now it's possible we have great music, but that sometimes doesn't even pass on to the next level or the next generation. But we even have seen now, like, think about the Beatles, think about John Lennon, the song Imagine, right? So that is a total downloaded song that, 30, 40 years later, we still sing, right? So they received information from their creative intelligence, and their souls were definitely guided somehow. And I'm telling you, in 100 years, we'll still sing these songs. But there's songs from 10 years ago, we have no clue anymore. Yeah, we heard them, there was a one-time hit, and they're gone, right? So why is that? Because they were third-dimensional music or art forms. Does that make sense? So if it goes beyond the generation, it is because it will go, it's already coming from a fifth-dimensional information or download into the fourth-dimensional masters of that generation or that field. Now, the master that is guiding that is known as Paolo Venetian. So the Paolo from Venice. He was a very well-known artist in the 15th, 16th century. And his works were all about ascension. So and his works are in the Louvre, in the same gallery. If you ever visit the Mona Lisa, it's in the same gallery as the Mona Lisa. There's actually more work of Paolo the Venetian in that gallery than from Leonardo da Vinci. So, and all his work are about ascension. So the ascension of Lady Mary, the ascension of the angels, ascension of Saint Bartholomeus, a saint. It's said that he was himself that saint. I don't know for a fact, but it was really interesting. All his work is about ascension. Very beautiful. The work is completely goldish. The light comes out of it. I mean, you can love the Mona Lisa, but when you have seen his work, the vibration is so amazing. Many, many years ago, in the beginning, I was teaching. An ascension class like now, And the people that were in that class were mostly third ray vibrational energy. They were artists. And so I brought them to the gallery to meditate, to meditate in front of this artwork. It was stunning vibration, So then we have the fourth ray, and the fourth ray is the green ray, it's the level of the heart. It is considered the harmony ray, but sometimes also called harmony through conflict. It's also considered a healing area, the healing vibration. But healing, not just only physical healing. So like think about doctors, organizations like Doctors Without Borders, Beyond Borders, that's an organization connected with that. But it can also be diplomacy, so healing of countries. So I'll give you an example of a president of the United States, Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter, that the person I met, I already told you about, in which organization. So he is a typical fourth ray. So he was also later on known after, even if he was a one-term president, he was known later on as a diplomat that brought a lot of Americans back when they were captured or when there was a lot of tension between countries. The United States president, or whoever it was, would send him in because he had such a way of talking to organizations in conflict or countries in conflict. So he was known as, then his nickname was actually White Eagle. That was his name that they gave him in the diplomatic world. Now, of course, he is in his late 90s already, or early 90s, but still he is considered as one of the greatest diplomats. And he's a typical fourth ray. So interesting enough is that the ascended master that is leading that department is called White Eagle. It's not Jimmy Carter, but it's really interesting that he got that nickname in the diplomatic world. So White Eagle was considered one of the shamans in the 18th century. It's a young ascended master that from the USA that tried to stop and negotiate with the American government the taking care of the tribes. He was known as a great negotiator, and when he ascended, he was invited to work in that field. This is a ray, a department that is right now also making sure that there is more holistic medicines available, that the West and the East will integrate better. So a lot of healing masters in the world, if that's Qigong or holistic work, they will vibrate on that field. They will get information from that, I would say, department of ascended masters. Then we have the fifth ray, and the fifth ray is called the blue ray. And the fifth ray is considered the ray of science. So the ascended masters there, they will inspire people to get scientists to have breakthroughs, what the science would call eureka. They were like an aha moment of finding something, a new way of doing things. Now, one of the things I have always learned is that when there is a direction or a suggestion to humanity or to a human being to improve human life in any direction, any department, they would never give it to one person. They would always give it to 3 people, because we have the freedom of will. Yeah. So it could be that somebody has an idea and said, I'm not going to do this. Too complicated. I can't do it right now. Can't add it to my work, right? Or that feels too much fear, or is just not inspired to follow up on it. Yeah. So that's why it's always given to 3 people. The same, for example, happened with the telephone. There were 3 people that invented in the same year the telephone, but only one person actually put a patent down. Bell put a patent down for the phone, right? But there were 2 other people that also invented it. Yeah. I remember a few years ago, I got a huge download on setting up a global women organization. And I was so receiving the download, all the details, and I kind of sat with it for a while until I can't add this to my shoulders. It's just too much. So when I receive information, I just passed it on. I just said, thank you, masters. It's a lovely idea, but I'm already too busy. I can't add this. So my free will, in my free will, I said, thank you. I just pass it on. And so then I got this dream of a woman, and very describing how she looked like, who took on the project. And a month later, I met her, and she's like, yeah, I was like, and I had put a date on of my project, what I received. And she said, yeah, I'm starting a project, starting a global women organization. And I said, okay, what date did you receive it? Oh, she said, let me look at my notes. It was the date after I said no to it, right? So we compared our notes, and it was like 90% the same information. Yeah. 10% was different, more towards what she was doing, right? And I was like, I'm totally supporting you, right? And she said, no, I want you to be a part of it. No. I passed it on. Yeah. She's been very successful with it. So the thing is, that was her thing. It was like, if I would have done that, I had to stop everything else. Yeah. I couldn't go there. So that's why I'm saying it's never to one person. I mean, that would not be very smart, to be honest, right? If it's just one person that receives the information. So right now, this department is working very intensely. But also any charities that are connected, or any sports manifestation that are connected with coming up for cancer, or working, getting money together to work on projects against HIV. So it's not just the doctors, the healers, but also anything to help this manifest. Yeah. But also peace conferences, the diplomats. And it's really interesting that right now this ray is quite under stress, because you will see that there are some leaders right now in the world that are not open for diplomacy. They're not open for conversations. Yeah. Interesting enough is that the fourth ray, I will go back to the fourth ray for a second, is also standing for everything with marketing. Yeah. So sales. Yeah. That is also part of the fourth ray. Interesting enough, because you have to negotiate with the client. Yeah. So going back to the fifth ray is about science. And the one that leads that is Master Hilarion, not hilarious, but Hilarion or Hilarion. And he is said to have been in a past life Saint Paul, the apostle. Yeah. There's also said that education is under that field. Yeah, not only science, but education. And everything also from the law, yeah, but not the law structure like the books of law, but judges, yeah, so the court system, Yeah, because the court system is all about the judge that needs to be analyzing, the information and bring the best out of it. So it's not the structure of the law itself, but the law system of the courts. The court system is connect with the fifth ray. So then we have the sixth ray, and that's the indigo ray, not turquoise, but indigo ray. So the third eye, and it's considered the ray of religion. So it is said that all the religions, all spirituality, devotion, spiritual information is connected in with that sixth ray. Right now, who is running this department still after so many 2,000 years is still considered Master Jesus. So he's still holding that vibration so that the religions would collaborate and work together and honor each other. So people that are focusing on spirituality will connect with that. Okay. Then the seventh ray is considered the ray about creating order and magic. And we would sometimes call that the technology ray. Yeah. So the ray of inventions, of communication. So it's also a communication ray. So the whole new information of internet, television, entertainment, films, movies, but also everything, how to create magic and joy and fun. Think about Disney land and, parks where people will enjoy themselves and entertainment areas are all considered the seventh ray because it keeps them believing in the magic of life. And the master for that runs that is Saint Germain. Yeah, Saint Germain is the one that runs that. I myself, a seventh ray vibrational field. Interesting enough, you also will have their cooking. Feng Shui is part of that. Alchemy, it's an alchemy ray. So some of you have taken my alchemy classes, the magic classes. But it's also the ray that is, I don't want to say responsible, but is inspiring people to go from the third dimension to the fifth dimension. That's like that ray is responsible, quote unquote, about this. Because bringing people from third to fifth dimension is actually magic. Yeah. It's the self-help, the self-empowerment movement is all in the seventh ray. Yeah. So all the teachers, that's why The Secret, for example, is about creating a new way of thinking. And it's a movie. So it's perfect seventh ray vibration. Yeah. Right now, interesting enough, is that since 2000, the seventh ray is the strongest ray for the next 2,500 years. So even if there's 7 departments, there's always one that is, I would say, holding the highest vibration. For 2,500 years before 2000, from 500 before Jesus Christ till 2000 after Jesus Christ, it was the sixth ray, the devotion, the religion energy. So somebody was recently telling me, entertainment is the new religion, right? Well, perhaps it is, right? So people, that's why I started this conversation with going to Aladdin. I mean, for me, that's like going to this movie. I love movies, yeah, because they express something visual and beauty. So we'll see that these masters are holding the vibration. Now, if you want to know more about this, you can actually connect in with a home study course, and I will send you the link later on. It's called Spiritual Codes, where I go much deeper into that. Yeah, Spiritual Codes, Home City course, where I have meditations for each of the rays. I also talk about if you use that ray, but you use it from the ego perspective, how then your reaction will be. Yeah, about the places in the world where they are vibrating on, essential oils that work with it, gemstones that work with it. I mean, there's a whole class just on that. I'm not going to give this class again online. The Spiritual Codes Home City course is the most amazing course I've ever done, with CDs and DVDs and manuals. So if you're interested in that, about this information, please continue studying there with me. Now, what I would love to do is I would love to do a meditation though, and I will bring you again to that ascension vibration, and I will connect you with these 7 departments, these 7 masters. Now, as they are the top manager of the department, they are called a Kohan. A Kohan means the one that is the leading ascended master. Yeah. So I'm going to connect you with that vibration, and it will be interesting for you to see which one relates the most with you. Yeah. Yeah, somebody's sharing about the Spiritual Code. It's a beautiful program. I highly recommend it. So I will make sure you get the link if you want to continue this conversation. So I'm going to bring you in connection with these 7 departments, or 7 frequencies. And doing this meditation, you will perhaps receive some words, some frequencies, some energy that works for you the best. Yeah, I believe our soul purposes are connected with these 7 areas. Yeah, and I think that is itself so important for you to understand where your frequency is connected with. And once you know which ray it is, you can then call in the ascended masters of that ray. Let's say you are working with healing right now. Then I would really recommend that you connect in with the ascended masters, White Eagle, as the headmaster, if we would call it this way, of the 4th ray to support your healing work. If you are into art and you're a creative person, then I would definitely say, connect in with Paolo the Venetian, with the 3rd ray frequency, and ask these masters to work through you. So when you're saying that, you're actually saying, I'm opening myself to that 5th dimensional field. It's almost like, I don't want to call it this a channel, because people then think that you're doing channeling medium, and that's not at all what we're talking about, right? It is just like, how would I say, a line of information that can come down. It's almost like a telephone line. Literally, it's like a line that comes in. So what I do is I connect with my spiritual master, not that he appears all the time to me anymore, once in a while, but I would connect and said, please guide me in how I can help the world get to a 5th dimension. And so then he gives me information like, oh, it's time for you to teach this. It's time for you to teach this, right? He's the one that told me I had to start teaching diamond feng shui. He came up with that name. I didn't even come up with that name, right? So last year he said to me, spiritual alchemy, people need to learn about spiritual alchemy, start teaching this. He was one like, now there are some people in your group of students that really need the Ascension Summit right now. And I'm like, I can say no to that. But, I'm like thinking, he probably knows better than me, right? So, okay, I'll teach about that, right? Sometimes he will say like, it's time for you to go there. It's time for you to go there. It's time for you to connect with that person. But most of the time, it's my own genie in myself, right? My own intuition that follows these things and that gets information myself. But I also know he has even a higher and a more elaborate perspective of my work and of what the world needs. Yeah. So that's why when he talks that, or when he gives me an information, that I listen, but still I can say no if it's practically just not possible. There has been moments that he said, it would be really good for you to go to that country right now. I said, I can't do this right now. It's too much. Yeah. You have to understand when an ascended master appears and you're not 100% sure it is an ascended master, and you say, I'm not so sure about you, and you send them away, they will never be angry. Yeah. Because they respect the free will. This is the highest good we have on this planet. That's why this is a unique planet. We have free will. It is said that on other planets there is not always free will. Yeah, we do have that in ourselves, in our mind. So if there is a request, then we can say yes or we can say no. Yeah, there's never a punishment. Okay. So ready for the meditation? Okay. May I invite you to close your eyes? Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath out. Visualize now crystal white lightning to fill your whole body in your aura field. And then visualize the royal blue tube of lightning coming all around you and under your feet. And then visualize the rose lightning tube of light coming around you. And visualize the violet lightning coming from the center of the universe, going through your body into the universe, releasing all the karmic toxicity that is still in you. And focus on connecting in with your quantum point. And from that top of your quantum point, going up through the golden light bridge into the golden platform. From that point, we are connecting in now with the ascension field of the first ray of divine will, with Master El Moria. We are requesting now humbly, if there's any inspiration that needs to come to us for our own human structure. I am connecting now with the second ray of unconditional love, connecting in with Lady Nada, and requesting humbly there's any wisdom that needs to come to us for creating unconditional love and service to humanity. Now we're connecting us with the third ray of active intelligence, creative intelligence, with Master Paolo de Venetian. To request humbly if there's any wisdom that needs to come to you, to me, to support the beautiful expression of humanity. Connecting now with the fourth ray of harmony and healing. Connecting in with Ascended Master White Eagle. And requesting humbly if there's any wisdom that needs to come to us about healing for ourselves and for humanity. And now we're connecting in with the fifth ray of divine science. Connecting in with Master Hilarion and requesting humbly if there's any wisdom that needs to come to you about education and science for you or for humanity. And visualize connecting in with the sixth ray of divine devotion and religion, connecting with Master Jesus, humbly requesting if there's any wisdom we need to receive, how we devote and how we connect in with the divine presence in ourselves or for humanity. Then we're connecting with the 7th ray of divine order and alchemy, connecting with Saint Germain, and humbly requesting if there's any information and wisdom we need to receive to create magic, 5th dimensional field energy for yourself or for humanity. Then take a deep breath in and out. Bring your hands together. Move your hands. Bring your warm hands in front of your eyes. Open your eyes. Let go of your hands. Wonderful. So it will be interesting to see which ray was like the most prominent for you. So if you want, you can leave a message here in the chat or send me an email about it to office@mariediamond.com. Now, I just want to share with you that not everybody is ready for this information. So when we look at the initiation levels, you all already are beyond the 3rd initiation. There are 7 initiation levels. And this information cannot be given to somebody who has 1st or 2nd generation initiation. Think about every initiation is like a mountain, higher and higher and higher. And so this information can only be shared with you when you are beyond the 3rd mountain. And the 4th mountain is the mastering of the 4th dimension. And the 5th mountain is the mastering of the Ascension frequency. So anyone that is here listening and watching has already passed the 3rd mountain. Some of you already are on your way to the 4th mountain. Some of you are kind of in the valley. Some of you are already kind of in the slope going down. Yeah. But I'm telling you this because I want to congratulate you for this. You already have done some journey. You already have a focus, not just on yourself. People that have the 3rd mountain, they are not just focusing on themselves anymore. They're already focusing on helping others. They already are leaders in some way or form in their field, in their family or in organizations, or they're helping others with coaching or consulting or healers. So you all already are there. Otherwise, you would not have clicked on the link, because I put that intention there, that only people that were really ready. This is not just like a feng shui class that, people on different frequencies and different levels can benefit from it. You already have to have done some spiritual journey to receive this information, to even understand what I'm saying. Because I say words, but I say a lot between the words. Yeah. It's not just my words, it's also my frequency that I'm sending out to you. Yeah. So I just want to let you know that I'm very proud of you for the journey you have already taken. And by taking this class, you will open up and see the world a little bit different. And perhaps you will listen to leaders, perhaps you will watch speakers or teachers or artists and saying, did they get inspired by the Ascended Masters? Yeah. Where are they on their journey? Are they 3-dimensional? Are they already 4-dimensional? They're thinking outside of the box? Or they're already, multidimensional beings? So it'll be interesting for you to open up. Do remember that there's no judgment. Yeah. Ascended Masters do not judge. Yeah, when you're in the Ascension field, you do not judge. So even if people are still in the 3rd dimension, they're still in the box of their own experience. Have compassion, have love for them. They don't always understand where they are. And sometimes just your presence with that frequency of lightning and having that lightning radiating out of you, right? In your words, in your presence, in your actions, in your mindset, will affect them. That's why when I come in people's life, they're like, my life has changed. And I haven't even said anything special, right? It has nothing to do anymore with my words. It has to do with what comes through my eyes. It has to come through when I touch them, when I put my hand on them, the frequency already radiates out, because that's what I will, encourage you to really work with this lightning speed, to change your cells and your cellular frequency, because wherever you're then going, people feel it. There is a shift happening for them. Yeah. All right. Somebody sharing. With what intensity do we need to have the call in an ascended master, or be worthy of having an ascended master come and help us? You are worthy, because you said yes already to the Ascension Summit. Yeah. You are always worthy. It's not just because you sign up, but you know now. It's now a conscious call, right? You can consciously call. Some of you will say, I don't want to bother them. It's like, what do I do with all this? I don't ask it every day, but I will connect every day. And my meditation, I will connect in with my array. I will connect in with my Ascended Master. And it's like saying hi. It's like, yeah, sending a little text. Hi, hope you're doing well. Literally, it's just connecting. It's putting the intention. Sometimes you need to help. You need to really have the support of not just your master, but also your ascended master or that energy. And it's mostly not just when you're go shopping and you forgot what's on your shopping list, okay? That's not when you call them, right? But when you need direction, when you need to know what is the purpose, what is the steps in your life that you need to take, that is when you call them. When you need, how to contribute better to humanity. Because everyone that's on the third ray is already focused on some way to contribute to humanity. Yeah. Okay. So that is what you're already all doing. In some way or form, you're contributing. Yeah. And that is why you can call in your contribution, in supporting your contribution. Yeah. Now, does that mean you can, if you're sick, you cannot call them in? Of course you can. But I wouldn't call them in when you have the flu or a cold or something. It's like when there's some major problems going on in your life, call in the healing ascended masters, right? So I would say, if you would go to a hospital, there's a general doctor and then there's a specialist, right? So call them in when you need a specialist, right? So that's what I would say. Would we be asking in a general way to all of them or to a specific one, even we don't know our soul purpose ray? We're going to go deeper into that in the next one, like how to really connect with them. So right now, I just would say, go to your golden light, and from your golden light, because you cannot connect in with from your quantum point. Your quantum point is 4-dimensional. It's a golden light that is 5th dimension. So you cannot go to the quantum point and say, I'm connecting from the top of my magical hat with an ascended master. It doesn't work. It's like the call does not arrive. If you would send an email from your quantum point, it doesn't get in their inbox. You have to go to the golden level. Yeah, that's the first thing, right? And then from that level, you just send out a request. Yeah. A request to be helped. And if you don't know which one, just say the one, this is my situation, this is my problem, this is my challenge. Any ascended master can help me with that. I'm open to receive humbly that information, humbly that wisdom. So, and then the masters react in the beginning mostly through dreams. Yeah. I'm going to go deeper a little bit in the levels of connection next time. Yeah. So it will be on Ascension Day. We'll have 2 sessions. Yeah. So one at 6 o'clock, one at 8 o'clock London time. That means one at 1 and one at 3 o'clock Eastern time. Yeah. So what your homework is for these coming days is to do the tube of lightning, and to start seeing and listening what happens with you when you're doing this work. Yeah. And seeing, perhaps you had read stories or you have read legends, and you remember perhaps stories of someone that you like, perhaps this was an ascended master. I remember when my son was 5 years old, and he was sitting in the bed. I will never forget that. And he said to me, "Mama, yeah, you're my master." I'm like, "Oh, okay." He said, "But before I came in your body, in your belly, I came a first time, and that was true. I had a miscarriage just before he came the second time, right?" He said, "I came the first time. You were not ready for me." I said, "Oh, I was not ready." He said, "No. I went back to my master, my master in heaven." And I said, "And who is that?" He said, "It's Hercules." Now, at that time, I have never spoken to him about Hercules at all, right? He hadn't seen any cartoon, or there was nothing on television that he has been watching. He said, "Yeah, Hercules said you were not ready for my energy." Yeah. And then a few months later, "You were ready." And I said, "Yeah, you're right. I was ready then." Then I'm sure he forgot about that. Then a year later, the cartoon came out from Hercules from Disney. Yeah. And so he comes to me like, "Oh, my master is on television." I will never forget that. And so Hercules is known for his golden sword. Yeah. And so he got a little, cartoon figures of, and he would like all the time be with Hercules. Had images of Hercules everywhere in his room. He was so fond of it, like his master, like he was so excited, right? Because he was still in connection with that field. And I remember one day I was working with a client, and I had a therapy room, and my son was in the other part of the house, and he was not even aware I was which I was seeing. There was 2 different wings of the house. And I tell her, I said, you have a great connection with Hercules. I said, we need to use his golden sword of Hercules. And at that time, she said, "I don't know how to understand that. What is all this about? I don't believe in anything of this." And I said, "Yeah, I don't know, but that's what I'm getting." At that moment, the door opens up. My 6-year-old comes in, and he has in his hand the little golden sword of his figurine of Hercules. And he comes, not to me, he comes to her, and he said, "This is the sword that you need." Yeah. And he takes the sword and starts like cutting around her like this, And he said, "I think you need it because you really can use it." And he gave her the little sword, and he leaves, closes the door. And I'm like, my mouth was open. I'm like, "Thank you." So she got it. It did exist. She's like, "Okay, I get it." She said, "You did not train your son to come in to give me the sword of Hercules." I said, "No, I didn't." So it was really, really funny. So, but I'm just saying, children, they sometimes have these connections already. Yeah. And perhaps you had a connection with one of the ascended masters when you were a child and you were not even aware of it, or you had this, devotion or something towards one of the deities or gods or goddesses, let me know which one it is. Send an email, right, to office@mariediamond.com. It will be really interesting to have some of that conversation going. We also going to invite you to the Facebook private group if you haven't been invited yet. And so then that conversation can continue there. So just answering a question, the quantum point is the top of the magical hat, correct? And the golden point is double that height above that hat, correct? There's also a question from somebody else. What's the difference between the soul vibe and the monad vibe? I'm not going to address that this time. This is what you learn in the spiritual codes, okay? So I want to finalize with this information for today. Have a wonderful time this weekend. Keep practicing. I'm looking forward to be with you next week on Ascension Day for 2 more sessions.